Hello everybody and welcome to HPL, the premier Hearthstone Professional League. We're at the PvP Live Studios here in Frisco, Texas. I am your host, Nathan. That's Admirable Zamora with D, Dan and Grace. We're in week 4, day number 3 of HPL now, and these teams are still fighting it out and jockeying for a position to find out who's going to get a chance to take home that HPL trophy. And talking about jockeying for those positions, we have the standings that's going on so far here in HPL to see where all these players are and see which one of these teams is starting to pull away from the pack and which players are pulling away. And just sitting at the top of our rankings still, Dog at 5-0. Yeah, Complexity looking so strong here so far in HPL. Neirea, he's going to be playing today as well, looking to continue those big wins he's been putting up. Did lose his last match, though, and then sort of, towards the middle of the pack, you see players like Purple and Kranich. They both start picking up their third wins. There were major matches for those guys to make sure they stay in those winning records a third of the way through the season. And then kind of falling towards the back of the pack, E-Cup, Green Sheep, and Osaka, those guys are really looking to turn things around in the back two-thirds of the season. Yeah, Osaka could turn it around here tonight. He's going to be playing in one of our matches to get a win. And like you said earlier, Neirea is going to be here tonight, try to be the third person to get that 5th win here in HPL. Yeah, and it's important that these teams have chosen 2 of their best and most promising players, because any team that puts a player into the top 8 spot here at HPL is automatically invited back for Season 2. And you might be wondering, how do they get to that top 8 spot? Well, we're going to talk about the rules here for HPL. As for the format, it's just pure Hearthstone. Players can play whatever they want at any time. There's no way a deck can become banned. There's no way a deck can become locked. You can build it, you can play it. Everyone's playing against everybody else in a best-of-5 series where in between games they have time to change anything about their deck or their class in any way that they see fit. And then after that regular season, the top 8 players are coming here to Frisco, Texas to fight it out and find out who is getting that stamp on their resume that every single one of these players wants, the inaugural Hearthstone Pro League champion. And just remember, guys, the show doesn't stop here. You can go to pvplive.net for any player stats, league standings, full schedules, VODs, or recaps that you want throughout the entire week. Remember, it's Monday through Thursday at 5 p.m. Central right here on twitch.tv/pvplive. Hey, you can hit that follow button. Make sure you never miss a live show. Sometimes you will miss a couple things. We understand. But we have got some of the best moments from yesterday in a short video for you, just in case you did miss them, in case you were a little bit lazier than you usually were. But yeah, regardless of that, there's so many good matches we've been having in HPL. The last couple of weeks, it seems like
especially the last couple of weeks,
as this metagame's been ramping up, we've been seeing people try wilder and wilder stuff to throw their opponents off guard, and yesterday was no exception to that.
Yeah, we had some great plays yesterday, some really big turns out of nowhere, and you're going to see it right here in this recap video. In the very first one, this was one of my favorite, if not my favorite play from all of yesterday. This is the Super JJ Era match now. In this one, you saw Era draw. Look, the reaction is what did it for me. He had one turn to draw a Raging Worgen to combo Super JJ out here.
Yeah, his deck looked like it was Grim Patron Warrior the full way through.
Look at the reaction from Era. Love it.
And Super JJ didn't have a way to actually fend this off, and Era was sitting on a blank board with no action for multiple turns in a row, and then on the very last turn, drew this Raging Worgen. I would venture to say this was also Kranich's favorite play of yesterday.
Yeah, it had to be something like he did in the at BlizzCon last year.
Yeah, this Deathlord also, Era played a more fatigue-oriented rogue deck, and Deathlord came back to bite him in that one, the Emperor Thorson getting played. And then in this last game, Unstable Portal, always going to create unrealistic situations, but for Era, it paid off in spades.
Yeah, but at least Super JJ had chicken.
Leroy Jenkins able to get the win in that one, and then in Osaka versus Kranich, wonderful stuff in this match from Kranich. Able to pick up his 3rd win here. This is one a turn where he assessed his risk, and look at the play that he found to make sure that he could actually get this lethal. Yeah, no, it wasn't just attack.
Yeah, hold on, wait. Oh yeah, kill my own minion. That's how we win this game.
The spare part, picking up extra buffs on the Mana Worm and the activation from Flamewaker to ensure a lethal victory this turn. What a game from Kranich in that one. And then Osaka in game 3, he actually forced this one to a game 4. Kranich won this series, but Osaka played this Freeze Mage game beautifully.
Yeah, this was game 3 between Osaka and Kranich. If you missed this game, make sure you go back to the website, pvplive.net. Find the VOD of this one and watch this one. This game was unbelievable. It looked like Kranich was going to win every turn of the game, and Osaka just kept holding on, and just, he was at 1 life for multiple turns during this game, just found the way to get through this. He had to play a 6-mana Ice Lance in 1 turn when I think most people wouldn't, and just unbelievable play from him here.
Honestly, it's few times I think that players are going to have what I would consider masterpiece games, and this is one of them. Osaka, very much known for being a Freeze Mage player in his career, and he illustrated that in this game.
Yeah, add this one to the highlight reel. I would keep this one around for quite a while.
This is truly one of the best games I have ever seen in my entire life. Just so much good stuff. And Kranich, you know, despite the fact that he had all that pressure, this was forced to a game 4, but Kranich was able to take that 3 games to 1.
Yeah, Kranich started out 0-2 here in HPL, then was won 3 straight in a row. He's got a little win streak of himself going.
Yeah, a couple players looking to make sure that they can start getting their win streaks here tonight, though. We've got some more great matches for you guys.
Yeah, in our second match of the night, we're going to have Caldy versus Muzzy. This is going to be a pretty good one, some control versus aggro. In our third match of the night, this is a little bit of a, you know, we had a server issue. I'm sorry, Hearthstone had a server issue. So Zalay and Greasy, they're going to have to finish up their match from yesterday. Zalay is already up 2-0 in that match. In our fourth and final match of the night, we're going to have Purple versus Osaka. Osaka going to try to get back into the, try to get into the winner circle for the first time. He's got a tall order in front of him with Purple. But our first match of the night, this is a pretty good one as well. We have Powder versus Neirea.
Yeah.
And you know what? I want to talk a little bit about this match, Nathan. When we talk about this match and these two guys, you know, it's kind of a matchup that you're going to have between aggro and control. You know, in their careers, Powder's been kind of an aggro player, Neirea more control. So what I want to focus on in this match is minions killed between these two. Now, Powder's coming in, he's 2-2 so far here in HPL, and his minions killed per game, you're gonna see it right here on the screen in just a second, he's at about 4.9 a game, so he's killing about 5 minions a game. But he's been way more successful in his games when he's not focused on killing minions. He's 2-0 when killing fewer than 3 minions in a game. But when he's killing more than 3 minions in a game, he's 2-6. Now, since he's been aggressive, his games haven't lasted very long in these games. They've been averaging just under 9 turns per game. So when he isn't trading or having to kill minions, he's winning quickly. But when he's having to focus on board control and killing minions, he's been losing very quickly.
Yeah, Powder so much on that aggressive style of things. You know, the fact that when he has to trade for minions, he's actually losing games, kind of showing you he's having to fight from positions where he's typically behind. We haven't seen too much of him in HPL. One of his matches was against Tides of Time. He forfeited in that match. But since then, you know, he's stuck with that consistent style where he'll play power strategies. And right now, with the way the Hearthstone metagame is, that typically means aggressive decks. So because of that, he's been very regulated in the way that he's been picking strategies. You see a big pattern in them. But that's coming from a point where he's very diligent and practiced in that too. He's not just picking the strategies he thinks are best. He's practicing and figuring out which ones he thinks are best based on the results that he's been having in his own personal time. This guy's played a lot of tournaments on NA and EU, and when he comes into HPL, he's just bringing with him what continues to win for him when he's against other professional players practicing, but that hasn't been working too terribly well for him so far.
Yeah, not so far. He's 2-2 in HPL, but his opponent tonight is coming in at 4-1. His opponent, Neirea, it's a really big part of his game that he gets minion kills. He's second in all of HPL minion kills at 8.6 a game. He's killing about 8.5 minions every game that he plays. Now, he's been known as a control player throughout his career, so he's been keeping up with that style, at least in his tendency of killing minions. But maybe he should be like rethinking some of that strategy here because it's been working in a different way for him. He's only winning 44% of his games when he's killing 7 or more minions. So when he's doing his average or better, he's only winning, he's winning less than half his games. But when he's killing less than 7 minions a game, he's at a 60% win rate mark per game. So when he hasn't been focusing on controlling the board as much, or he's just been getting an iron grip early, he's winning way more games here in HPL.
Yeah, I think a lot of that also a byproduct of the format as well. It's been a lot more aggressive lately. And Neirea, I think, has been one of the players who's been adapting to that very well. You know, he's generally known as a control player who likes these very long, grindy games and killing all of his opponent's minions to choke out their options. But he's been pretty aggressive here so far in HPL. You know, he's queued up very well, and he's kind of been getting the better of people. We've seen him wildly switch up his strategy, going over to stuff like Face Hunter at times, and then even in his control matchups, he's kind of been focusing on the combo side of things to get the work done. So I love that he's actually working towards that style as far as the metagame is concerned.
Yeah, so when you take a look at these two guys and how they kind of match up, it's a classic matchup, just aggression versus control. Powder's games have been decided very, very quickly for one side or the other, while Neirea, he's been trying to make his games go as long as possible. Now, he's been changing it up here a little bit in HPL from time to time. He's been showing a good mix of aggro and control. He's really switching it up and throwing his opponents off. Now, something I really want to bring up here between these two, Nathan, is the lack of Druid play on both sides by these players. That class has the most wins of any class here in HPL, and I think that would be a pretty good strategy for Powder to use against Neirea here in this match, and it's been doing so well in HPL. I can't believe neither one of these guys has played it.
Yeah, I mean, you actually told me that Druid had the highest win percentage in HPL as well, not just the most wins. You know, that's a big talking point for both of these guys, that they haven't been playing that strategy, the fact that they've been either very aggressive or very control-oriented. And for this matchup in particular, because Powder's been so aggressive, are you going to see Neirea kind of return to that more traditional style control control deck where you will rely on a single threat to get the job done. Those games typically go a little bit longer, but he's going to have a little bit more control on the board. But Powder, you know, this guy isn't cemented into that aggro strategy. He's been bringing them because at times he thought they were just simply the best decks. That's not to say that that's the only way he's prepared. I mean, for this match specifically, you know, he's tended to say he doesn't prepare for his opponents exactly. He said in one of his interviews that he just brings what he thinks is the best deck. That's how he thinks the best way to tackle the HPL format. But Neirea has been in a consistent pattern of putting his opponents in positions where they're the ones who are having to adjust to him. So Powder's going to have to account for that in some way or another. But Neirea also has to account for the fact that Powder has so far been very aggressive in his matches, and I think that this is going to be a great one to see how they're adjusting to the way the metagame's been going lately. And so that's going to bring me into what I think Powder actually has to do to win this game. I think if he's going to win this game, there are two major things he's got to consider. And the first one, I think he's got to be ready for those long games. He's got to pull up a chair by the hearth and sit down, because Neirea's going to be taking these ones very, very long. If Powder continues to fall into that trend, he's going to have something in the late game that can give him those pushes, whether it's going to be bigger drops or whether it's going to be a combo focus. Some way or another, he's going to have gas once he gets to those later turns, 8, 9, 10 plus, or otherwise he's going to find himself completely losing traction in those ones. And the second thing I think he needs to do is continue to be aggressive, whether that's going to be scaling up through his curve or looking to cement that position very early on. He has to be aggressive in his matches, or Neirea is going to be free to have as much time as he needs to find those key cards. So he has to put him in a defensive position if he's going to win.
Man, that impression was spot on. You really are the innkeeper. What I think Neirea needs to do to win this match, at first, I think he needs to be ready for aggression. Powder has been trying to end his games as quickly as possible, make him play longer games. His decks that he's been using, the ones he's been building with these they haven't been built with late turns in mind, and you might not be able to keep up with you if you get to these really late parts. So if you can make him play these long games, he's going to have problems keeping up with your late game threats and answering them correctly. Second part, I think he needs to target Powder's predictability. Powder has only really played 4 classes here in HPL, and they've been the good ones: Warrior, Warlock, Rogue, and Hunter. You need to be ready for those top decks. Don't worry about him really surprising you with some crazy deck or some crazy strategy that you haven't seen. He sticks to the most popular and powerful strategies. Punish him for that.
Yeah, the popular strategies typically tend to be the powerful ones, but Druid, we haven't seen either of them play Druid. Are they going to play it in this match? I really want to know. But who do I think's got the edge of this one? Personally, I have to go with Neirea in this match. In addition to having what I would consider a minor experience edge, Neirea has been looking so good in choosing his strategies for his opponents. He's been adapting very well. He's been throwing them off with different choices, and Powder's been kind of falling into a little bit of a pattern. Neirea has clearly shown that adjusting to that is key to winning in HPL, and since he's been doing it better so far, I think he's going to win this match.
You know, I've got to fully agree with you here. I've got to go with Neirea as well. His Q-ups in these matches so far have just been perfect. He's been throwing curveball at the right moment, switching from control to aggro to mid-range strategies. I don't think Powder's going to be able to keep up with it. And if he comes like he normally does in every match and comes in extremely aggressive, Neirea is going to be able to fight that off very well and win this match.
Yeah, so that's going to do it for that one. What do you guys think, and who do you think is going to win this match, though? You can get out there on Twitter and use that hashtag HPL and tag PvP Live. Let us know what you're thinking about this match. You can follow along on the website, pvplive.net, to see these guys' backgrounds themselves, see how they have played strategies in the past, and what you think they're going to do in this matchup in order to get that edge. Also, don't forget about Facebook. You can hop on there, like PvP, and comment there as well. We're going to be checking out your opinions after the match. Maybe we'll get some ideas. Maybe we overlooked something. I don't think that we did, because we have all the numbers. But you never know. There's always X factors to consider for Hearthstone. That's really the big one, and that's what's interesting, is how they measure those particular things. So kind of putting all that aside, you know, looking at how these guys' momentums match up, Powder, he's got to bounce back from this. This is a very key match for him. You know, going into that third of the way through the season, for a lot of people, it's like an inflection point. If they get a loss here, they're now a losing record a third of the way through the season. That's not the feeling you want to have. But if you pick up that win, suddenly things are looking brilliant for you. You know, a third of the way through the season, you're winning 60% of your matches. I mean, 60% win rate in matches is an astonishing amount when you really take into consideration that that's what you have to do to be a professional.
Yeah, and on the other end of it, Neirea's 4-1 and looked great so far here through HPL. So he's got a tall order in front of him here today if he wants to turn it around and get into that winning category. So we're going to have to find out if he can win it here today. Is the aggression going to get through, or is Neirea going to return to his roots and get him with the control? It's going to be interesting to see if Neirea gets aggressive himself for the match and tries to beat him at his own game.
Yeah, the pressure on this one is actually kind of on both players. Once again, Neirea started out 4-0, and he lost in his last match here in HPL. The last thing you want to do is start losing multiple matches in a row. And then Powder has to win this match. I feel like this is such a key point for him, and it's been such a key point in a lot of players' matches so far.
Yeah, this is definitely a bigger match for Powder than it is for Neirea. I think he needs this win. If anyone needs a win, he needs it more than Neirea. Neirea has already got 4 wins on the board. Powder needs to get back to even here at 3-3.
Yeah, we're going to see if he can put that win up right now as Powder versus Neirea Game 1 is getting underway. Neirea going with Druid here. You know, we just said it.
Immediately off the bat, yeah.
We just said it. And this is showing you the kind of adaptation that Neirea is having to this format. You know, you look at the way the player trends are going, people are winning a lot of games with Druid, and he recognizes that.
Yeah, Neirea might be one of the, you know, flexing his muscles here with Druid today. He's got the guns out. He's ready to go.
Looking good is Neirea. Happy to see him on camera too. You know, tough to get some packages of Ukraine sometimes.
I was about to say, he's been moving a lot recently, right?
Now that much I don't know about that much. You know, I haven't spoken to Neirea too much lately. I've been checking out his stream from time to time, and he's got some crazy ideas on there as well. Been playing a lot of combos. And Powder, I saw a Frost Nova in his hand. We're gonna get his feet up for you as quickly as we can. But it looks, anytime you see a Frost Nova, you have to believe that Freeze Mage is a possibility.
Yeah, and you can't be happy to see Druid sitting across from you.
Yeah, we saw that matchup yesterday. Oh, that's Echo Medivh.
This is the deck. Okay, so it's not his deck, but we saw Era play it earlier in HPL. It looks like Flood Mage.
Yeah, this deck is going to try to extend the game as long as possible, get a ton of minion kills, and then have drastic turns in the board states with things like Molten Giants, Echoes of Medivh, lots of options available to them. Their main game plan is to survive.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're seeing Acidic Swamp Ooze here in Neirea's deck, kind of an homage to what Powder's been doing. Almost every class that he plays has weapons in them, and they've been aggressive, so it's just a good minion to have against those decks.
Yeah, this role is swapped up from what we anticipated it being, too. I love that these players are kind of taking to that. Neirea, I think Druid is a very safe choice for Game 1. It doesn't give your opponent too much information about what you intend to do throughout the match, but I love that Powder is going drastically away from that aggression he's had, because it hasn't been working for him so well. So to see him play a more control-oriented style, that may be the way he needs to get things done.
Mind control tech as well.
Neirea has really built for Powder in this matchup.
Now, Neirea just played a mind control tech and attacked Powder here. Neither one of these procs the secret. Do you think he has anything in mind now? What's going on? Do you think he thinks it's Freeze Mage now?
Yeah, I mean, at this point in the game, it's very likely to assume it's Freeze Mage. He's seen Arcane Intellect, and he's seen a secret, which I'm almost 100% certain he believes is Ice Block at this point. You know, it's very rare a mage in general will play like a couple of threats and then do nothing afterwards. So I think that he believes this is Freeze Mage right now.
This looks more like Ramp Druid to me. He's just got all the big threats in his deck, it looks like.
Yeah, that sort of is honestly what it looks like.
Perfect draw here for Powder, picking up this Emperor Thaurissan here on this turn.
Yeah, I mean, he is facing down a lot of pressure, though. You know, if he plays Emperor Thaurissan, he does have to worry about 10 points of damage on the other side of the board. Not necessarily something he was ready for.
Yeah, definitely not. I mean, he can do a couple other plays like Frost Nova with Explosive Sheep. He really needed a Doomsayer if he had something like that in his deck. But yeah, this Explosive Sheep is going to be able to take out two minions here on Neirea's side if he wants. He could also couple it with the Frost Nova if he wants to take care of it. But then, if you, I was going to say, if you don't damage it now, you run the risk of it getting silenced and not getting the value out of it that you need.
Keeper of the Grove would be an absolute, like one of the last minions he would want to see in that position. So I love that he's chosen the defensive play here. Doesn't need the Emperor Thaurissan straight away. And if Neirea, you know, finds himself stumbling for a turn, that could be a big difference here. But now Neirea sees Explosive Sheep. That's a card that will find its way into Freeze Mage at times, but not always in there. Is he having second guesses about what this strategy is? Absolutely.
You can see him really take his time here. You saw him really take his time, even put his hand on his chin. He's like, what's going on here? I just saw an Explosive Sheep. An Explosive Sheep. This isn't exactly what I thought it was.
He actually has figured this out, by the way. You saw he deliberately did not attack with Azure Drake. Neirea has this matchup figured out right now. He knows that this is going to play Molten Giants in here, and he's trying to figure out a way to end this in one fell swoop is what he's doing.
And
so
this
Ragnaros
card
is
good at doing it.
And I love that Neirea has played this way. Going to put Powder down to 8 so that Ragnaros is either going to take out Emperor Thaurissan or it's going to pop an Ice Block. Beautiful play from him, and love the way he's leveraged this.
And there we go. It's going to pop this Ice Block, so the Emperor Thaurissan is going to stick around for Powder. Man, I got to say, what play from Neirea here over these last two turns. It may look like something very small and simple, but it has such a huge impact on this game. Not letting him play those Molten Giants that turn, not attacking on purpose.
Yeah, well, Molten Giants and Echoes of Medivh are really going to do a lot of work here. I mean, look at what's happening in this position. Powder going to be able to play Anti-Keobot or Sun Fury Protector, and then Echo Medivh afterwards. I'm very surprised, actually, that he's not just creating 4 Molten Giants in this position. I think taunting up and then Echo Medivhing, playing more Molten Giants, and then NT Keobotting, that looks like a great play to me.
Yeah, I mean, the Echo Medivh is pretty cool here. You actually get free Molten Giants. They're at 0 mana right now, so you just get to, you know, just spam the entire board here and possibly kill Neirea next turn.
Look at this deck. This is the kinds of crazy turns that you're looking for too. And we're seeing this happen more and more in HPL. Players are looking for wildly different strategies to make sure that they can beat their opponents. This is the kind of distance you have to go to if you want to keep people off guard.
Yeah, it's something that has to do with the way that Hearthstone has been moving lately. You're moving away from these like really do-nothing control decks.
Look at what happened to this board.
Yeah, he had an Emperor. By the way, guys, he had an Emperor Thor's alone to start this turn.
And now he's got 4 Molten Giants, 2 of them are taunted, a 5/1 Emperor, an anti-heal bot, and he's back up to 16.
What does Neirea do? What does a man do against such reckless hate? I mean, just look at this. Like, what do you do against this board?
Well, step 1, I think, is start having Ragnaros really deliver in this position. It looks to me like Swipe is going to have to be one of his options. Like, Swipe Double Wrath is looking about one of the only things that he can reasonably do.
Yeah, he's gonna be able to swipe Wrath again. I mean, he can get rid of a lot of these Molten Giants, like about 2 or 3 of them, but he's gonna have a problem finishing off this game from here. Powder has 2 duplicates in his hand and another Emperor Thorson. He's got a Sunfury Protector. He's got an Alex Straza. Keeper of the Grove was a pretty good draw. It might be pretty good later on in this game.
That's actually a really interesting draw at this point. You know, how he chooses to go forward here, because like, how do you kill all these Molten Giants? You have to kill Molten Giants at this point. And he's also he also knows that like there's a possibility his board's gonna get frozen, that Powder's gonna have Alex Straza in his hand. I don't think he can actually live through this turn. I really don't.
Yeah, I think he's not gonna be able to.
There's the first swipe. Looks like he wants to Wrath and pick up an extra card here. And unless this Ragnaros does even if this Ragnaros does major work, the Alex Straza is gonna be too much. And Neirea has no way to stay in this game. That's going to be it. It takes out a Molten Giant, but Alex Straza is going to set Neirea over to 15 plus 1 armor, and that's way more than 15 plus 1 armor's worth of damage sitting on board. Powder, despite the fact that he fell behind early, is going to take a very decisive game 1 on the back of this combo.
What a change-up here from Powder. He's shown you aggression, and more aggression so far here in HPL, and then he comes with this deck, the Flood Mage deck. His draw in the middle of the game after the Emperor Thorson was amazing. You don't always see these games where they make 4 Molten Giants in 1 turn. Sometimes you see this game go super long where you just run your opponent out of resources and you actually put them into fatigue to win the game. But here he didn't need that. He just attacked him for 1 million in 1 turn.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the big benefits of this deck is you have one of those kinds of swing turns, and then the game is unlosable.
Swing turn.
I mean, it's about one of the swingiest ones that you can get outside of outright killing your opponent. Wonderful stuff from Powder this game, and sort of an example that he will queue up whatever he believes is the best strategy, not necessarily a single style. Loves to get that practice in and find out what the best deck. If you guys want to go take a look at this one and see exactly what happened, you can head over to pvplive.net and see for yourself. The full stats breakdowns, recaps, everything that happened in this game. If you want to try that one out, I fully encourage you to go do so.
If you want to play 37 power in 1 turn.
That looks like a great one. These guys are making changes to their decks right now, though. That's the HPL format. They are not shackled in any way whatsoever. And when we come back and they're done making changes, we're going to have game 2 between Powder and Neirea getting underway. Don't go anywhere, guys. You're watching Hearthstone on PvP Live.